So learning is it's when okay learning is but what is learning? Hey everybody, thanks for checking this video out again. I'm here with my trusty microphone I know you all love, and I'm here to talk about learning. I did make a language learning channel and I did talk about language, so it kind of makes sense to talk about learning as well, right? So what is learning? Well, learning is a huge topic, and it's something I could talk about for hours and probably debate people about. But for the sake of this channel, I want to keep this really, really simple and really, really short and sweet. And got to remember to keep this thing here, otherwise, it's this weird, this dissonance kind of thing really sucks. I just want to throw a few ideas at you that I think will help you if you're going to start learning a language. Just some ways to think about learning. Okay, so I got count them, three concepts for you coming right up. The first one is that learning is a process, not a product. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is a lot of my students seem to think that if they can remember something, a word or a sentence pattern or whatever, that they've learned it. And if you can remember something, that's memorization. Memorization is an important part of learning, but it's not the same thing. Learning is a process, it's something that you are continuously doing. Okay, the second one is that learning is creative. In the previous video, I talked about flexibility. These two things are basically the same. But my point here is that a lot of people think learning is very logical. You do A, B, C, and you get result D. Well, some things do work that way, but not all learning does. A lot of it does require some thinking, some creativity, some imagination. Okay, so the third and last concept, and I think this is the most important, is that learning is active. It's not passive. Okay, this is a big one for me, because probably the most consistent problem I get from new students is that they sit there and they expect to be like a sponge. They expect the teacher to, pour out the information. They're just going to sit there and soak it up. A lot of people, when they study at home, do kind of the same thing. They just sit there passively watching movies, or they got some music in the background and they think they are, hold on a second, learning. That's not learning. Okay, learning is an active process. So let me talk about that a little more. What do I mean by active? Well, when I say active learning, I mean 5 things. Okay, the first one is that there's a purpose to what you're learning. There's a reason, there's a why to what you're doing. That came out really well. There's a reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. The second one is that it requires some thinking. Wow, big surprise, right? But I can't tell you how many people I know who will sit there, they'll read a book for 15 minutes, maybe take some notes, and then when they're done, they just put it away and they go play video games or watch TV for 72 hours straight. That's not really learning. You're going to lose that stuff in a heartbeat. Okay, so the third is you're also thinking about not just what you learned, but how you're learning. You're considering whether the way you're doing your studies or whatever it is really useful or even fun. Okay, fourth, it's organized. So there's a reason that you're doing something first and then doing something next. Like some people I know will, for example, watch some movies to learn slang, and then the next day they're reading some scientific study. These are two totally unrelated things, and if you can't connect them, you're not really going to retain them in your head. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that learning requires you to take control of the process. You've got to determine what you're going to do, how you're going to do, when you're going to do it, that sort of thing. So what this means is that motivation and goal setting, 2 topics I'm going to talk about in the future, are super important. Okay, but there's no need to be all somber and serious and grave about learning. Learning is a cool thing. It's a positive thing. For one, learning is totally natural. We're doing it all the time. We just can't help ourselves. Another cool thing about learning, and this is probably what I like about it so much, is that it changes the way you look at the world. So what I mean is, besides the fact that you'll just know more stuff about the world and the people in it, it'll also change your attitude. I found it makes me more accepting, more open-minded, and just more curious about stuff. The more I learn, the more I want to learn, which I think is pretty freaking awesome. So while I want to pack as much information as I can into these videos, I also do want to keep them as short and sweet as possible. So I'm going to wrap up right about here. Thanks again for checking this out, and I hope to see you again next week. Peace. Also, if you have any questions or requests, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or of course shoot me a message.